What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Wednesday, November 15th edition of the NBA Lineup Generator video. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. We have 8 NBA games tonight, and we're going to take a look, as always, at the way things are shaping up here early in the afternoon using the NBA Lineup Generator. I'll give you a look at how to use the tool, how you can use it effectively for your own lineups, and we'll look at how things are shaping up here early in the day. Obviously, things are going to change between now and lock. You shouldn't be using these lineups. That should go without saying, but there was some confusion recently. You shouldn't be using these lineups at 7 p.m., but you can see how things are looking here midday and potential adjustments that are going to happen between now and 7 based on injury news. We're going to look at both DraftKings and FanDuel, but first, make sure you hit the thumbs up button on YouTube. If you're watching this on Twitter, give it a like there as well. And on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell so that you get notifications when all of our shows go live. Now, starting with DraftKings, as usual, you get the option of the type of lineups that you want. I'm going to go with contrarian, so we're looking at some large field tournament lineups here. I'm going to skip the option to lock a player. Now, one thing that did just happen, we just got Giannis ruled out right before I started to record this video. So we have updated projections. I haven't done a prior run to know exactly how things are looking, but ownership is going to be lower on Milwaukee guys right now than it is later. We haven't updated ownership yet. So that is something to keep in mind here, but we can still take a look at these lineups and talk through how things are looking right now, with Giannis out and everywhere else on the slate. If you're not familiar with this tool, it's going to use our player projections, our ownership projections, and our simulation models on the back end. And then it's going to deliver to you, present to you an individual lineup or lineups on an individual basis, like this one right here. You can look at the lineup, you see the salary, the projection, the ownership projection, how it compares to other lineups in terms of projection here on the sliding scale at the bottom, how it compares to other lineups in terms of ownership, the specific players, their ownership, their projections. You can decide you like the lineup or dislike the lineup. If you like it, you save it. If you dislike it, you discard it and get another one. All of these lineups project as profitable lineups long-term using our projections and our models. So essentially, you're getting access to the end result of all of our tools, and you can get it for $14.95 a week. I'll have more on that later, but it's the most cost-effective way for you to get access to our tools, and we're going to take a look at it here. So what I did was I went through and I just selected the first 20 lineups that were presented to me. Now, if you were using this for yourself, you may want to be a little bit more selective, but for the purposes of this video, that's what I did. And now we can see here on the left-hand side, we have all of the lineups that I saved. On the right-hand side, we have the player exposures within those lineups, so you can quickly see how much of players you're getting, especially here at the top. Bobby Portis showing up 60% of the time. He's 5,700. He clearly benefits from Giannis being out. You're going to get more playing time, probably get more better per minute production as well. Chris Middleton, 5,600, showing up 55%. This is an interesting one. His per minute production should certainly go up. The problem is just, how many minutes is he actually going to play? Milwaukee's been very, very cautious with his playing time recently. Still just played 19 minutes in their last game. I have a hard time believing that they're going to ramp him up too much just because Giannis is out. Logically, it doesn't make a lot of sense to be like, okay, we're going to rest Giannis today, and as a result, we're going to get away from our Chris Middleton injury management plan and just play him 28 minutes. Like, I don't think that's likely to happen. Maybe he plays a few more minutes. Right now, we have him at 24. I don't know if we'll stay there or even come a little bit lower, but certainly his per minute production is likely to increase. And so at 5,600, he does still end up at the very least looking like a viable option, even if that projection does come down a little bit. Karl Anthony Towns at 7,900, about 1.2 DraftKings points per minute this year. Good price tag, good positional eligibility. Jared Vanderbilt at 3,100. I'm not entirely sure why he is showing up. We have him projected for 18 minutes, 16 DraftKings points. So it's probably just placeholder value right now, and it goes away by lock. This is one of those guys where if you're watching this video at 2 p.m. and for some reason you're not going to touch your lineups between now and lock, probably avoid Jared Vanderbilt. There's most likely going to be better value that opens, but he's showing up right now at 3,100. We're getting to Kyrie, who is questionable. That's something we'll have to keep an eye on today. Tim Hardaway, great matchup against the Wizards for both Kyrie and Hardaway. Lillard, of course, looks better without without Giannis, rather. He's been about a 1.1 DraftKings point per minute guy overall this year. We should certainly see that tick up without Giannis out there. De'Aaron Fox underpriced at 8,300 now that he's returned from injury. Connaughton looks better without Giannis because he'll get more playing time. Cole Anthony at 5,300, no Markelle Fultz, pretty decent value there. Mobley and Mitchell both look better than usual because Darius Garland's out. So for the most part, it's really easy to explain why we're getting to all of these guys at the top. And one thing you can do if, say you do go through your lineups, and it's really hard to pay attention to, who's in every single lineup as you're deciding if you like them or not. Let's say you go through, you get your 20 lineups, you get to this page, and you decide, okay, why do I have 35% Jared Vanderbilt? You can click Jared Vanderbilt, and it's going to it's going to highlight all of the Jared Vanderbilt lineups and move them to the top. And then you can go in, you have a couple ways to customize here. You can either click the arrows on the right-hand side and then just swap Jared Vanderbilt to someone else in his price range. You would scroll down to, $3,100 or $3,200 here. And, say you wanted to make him Chris Duarte, you just click that. Or what you can do is, discard however many Jared Vanderbilt lineups you want. And then you just go here to get more lineups. It'll take you right back to that previous screen. First lineup that pops up here does not have Jared Vanderbilt. So we click that one. And we've now replaced that Jared Vanderbilt lineup. So he's at 30% instead of 35. So there are customization options for you here as well. That trick with the arrows also works if, let's say you just look at this lineup and you're like, I really, really like everybody here, but I hate Karl Anthony Towns today for whatever reason. Again, just click that and swap him to somebody you can afford, Shadon Sharp, Jaylen Brown, whatever it may be. And you have that lineup still. So you do have customization options, and you're getting a starting lineup that you're starting from a point that is projected to be profitable for you. So looking at how some of these individual lineups look, we have Dame at 9K, 4% ownership projection, absolutely going to come up in our next ownership run. Tim Hardaway Jr. at 5,900, 3% owned. It's Tim Hardaway Jr. You're not going to be that excited, but he is facing a Washington team that plays at the fastest pace in the league. They are bottom 10 in defensive rating. There's certainly upside there. Tobias Harris, relatively low owned at 8%. Patrick Williams and Nikola Vucevic, both popular as the Bulls are playing without DeMar DeRozan. Chris Middleton, that ownership probably comes up even more. Looks fine with Giannis out. Production should certainly increase. You have Towns, who's popular, and then you have Vanderbilt, who, again, I think probably ends up not being that useful tonight, but right now is just the last guy in, getting 3% ownership. The next lineup projects a bit better. Aggregate ownership is about 20 points higher, but it's got an 8-point higher. Its projection is 8 points higher. So, not a bad trade-off there at all. We have De'Aaron Fox at 14%. Contrarian play in Jaylen Brown at 7,800. Always happy to do that. Same goes for Porzingis at 7,400. We have Middleton and Portis again. Donovan Mitchell with no Darius Garland looks fantastic. Again, we have Vanderbilt. And then we have a 3K McGee who, kind of similar to Vanderbilt, is sort of placeholder value right now. Alex Len is out for the Kings, so McGee should be the backup center. He's a very good point per minute guy. He's also probably not playing very many minutes behind Sabonis, who does typically play a lot, but we know McGee can get it done at 3K flat, even if he plays like 12 minutes. Looking for my first non-Jared Vanderbilt lineup, since we have those Vanderbilt lineups at the top now, since I'd sorted that way. We get to this one here. Damian Lillard, Kyrie Irving, Ayo Dosunmu, who we are waiting on Alex Caruso status for the Bulls. DeRozan being out opens up more minutes. Dosunmu should play enough to be viable at 4K. If Alex Caruso is out, the playing time looks even better for Dosunmu. Bobby Portis, definitely someone you should be building around tonight. Jared Allen, 10% owned, pretty cheap. Playing time has been kind of volatile. He's only producing a fantasy point per minute, but still like taking shots on him at that salary. Malik Beasley could see a little bit more shot volume with Giannis and probably won't be very popular. Patrick Williams, De'Aaron Fox to round it out. So a pretty solid lineup there. And if you are using this tool and you have your 20 lineups now, you want to enter DraftKings. Let's say you're playing the $4 20 max on DraftKings. All you have to do is click export to CSV and then upload it on DraftKings, and you're good to go. Now we're going to switch back to look at FanDuel. And before we get into that, a little bit more on the lineup generator. You can use it. It's $14.95 a week. It updates with our projections and ownership up till lock. So, as opposed to watching this video and trying to play the lineups that are showing up in this video at 2 p.m., use it up until lock. It's quick. It's efficient. It's the most cost-effective way for you to access our tools. It's you can use the entire Sims model if you want to. That's $200 a month. It makes sense for some people. It doesn't make sense for some people. If you're somebody that prioritizes playing single entry lineups and you're not playing, that much volume, $200 a month is a lot. You don't want to be paying to use tools that make it close to impossible for you to profit, no matter how good the tools are. You don't want to put yourself in that hole. $14.95 a week. It's a lot more affordable. If you're playing your $4 20 max, like I'd said before, perfect for that. Perfect for your 3 max single entry builds. Highly, highly recommend using it. Again, most cost-effective way that you can access our tools, and you can get to it by using the link below on YouTube. I'll also tweet out the link below if you're watching this on Twitter. Highly recommend this tool. It's the best bang for your buck you're going to get. Now, looking on FanDuel, starting with the contrarian lineups, just like we did on DraftKings, we're just going to save the first 20 here. And then we can take a look at how things are shaping up on FanDuel here early in the afternoon. And at the top, we're back with the Bucks. Chris Middleton, 5,400 small forward in 85% of the lineups I selected. Bobby Portis in 75%. No problem with either of those. Again, you do have the minutes, the playing time concern for Middleton, but he should see an increase in production. Bobby Portis is going to look fantastic one way or the other. Kyrie Irvington, questionable, but if he plays at 8,600 against the Wizards, he looks great. Julius Randle, still dealing with some health issues, recovering from his injury last year. He's acknowledged as much, but he's still been about a 1.15 fantasy point per minute guy. So even banged up Julius Randle's getting it done for an $8,400 price tag. Kobe White, probably on average, doesn't see a big jump in production with no DeRozan, as long as Vooch and Levine are still out there like they will be tonight. But there is at least one less obstacle in his way. And at 5,400, 0.8 DraftKings or FanDuel points per minute, 0.75 to 0.8 FanDuel points per minute, still gets it done in around 30, 32 minutes on average. The Anthony Melton at 5,400, good price tag here, better price tag than on DraftKings. We're getting to 30% of him. Lopez looks a bit better without Giannis. RJ Barrett, questionable, but at 6,400, certainly a reasonable salary. Drew Holiday going at 6,600 for the Celtics. He looks good. And then also Jaylen Brown and Kristaps Porzingis questionable. If one or both of those guys get ruled out, Holiday's going to start looking better as well. Cole Anthony with no faults, mentioned him on DraftKings. Desumnu at 3,800, mentioned it in a previous lineup on DraftKings. We don't have DeRozan, and Alex Caruso is questionable. So at the very least, Desumnu is viable. If Caruso ends up out, there are a lot of minutes available. And then Tim Hardaway Jr. getting to him again here at 5,300. Much better price tag than on DraftKings, in a great spot against the Wizards. Now, looking at a couple of these top lineups, this first one, 200 or about a 300 fantasy point projection, 154% aggregate ownership. We have Holiday and Kobe White at the point guard spots. They're both popular. Donovan Mitchell, great play at 9,700 without Garland, 29%. Josh Green, basically unowned contrarian play at 4,300. He's facing the Wizards. You're not going to be excited about Josh Green, but you can be excited about pretty much anybody that steps on the floor against Washington. So just kind of hoping to get lucky on him. Then you get back to Middleton, Patrick Williams, Julius Randle as 15 to 20% owned plays, LeBron as a contrarian option. This is a back-to-back for the Lakers. We don't know if he'll play for right now, projected in. So assuming he does, at 7% owned, pretty interesting tournament play. And then rounding things out with a 7% owned Mitchell Robinson at 5,900. Plenty of upside for him, especially on FanDuel where you get 3 points for blocks. This next lineup projects about 4 points higher. It's a little bit more popular. Kyrie and White at point guard. So Kyrie instead of Drew compared to the last one. Chris Middleton and Cole Anthony, both 10 to 20% owned. Kyle Kuzma at 7,700. Good price tag, better price tag on FanDuel than DraftKings. 32% owned, 40% or 40 fantasy point projection rather. Kuzma played 37, 38 minutes last game. That's really good to know. It's not a guarantee that it's going to happen again today, but we've seen Washington be really weird with playing time for their main guys. Like we've seen competitive games where Kuzma finishes at 28 minutes. We've seen a competitive game where Tyus Jones finishes at 22 minutes to the point where it almost looked like they were actively trying to lose games. And this is a team that, does have some incentive to tank, but we saw them in a competitive game with Toronto that they still managed to lose. Play Kuzma full run. So if knowing that's at least on the table certainly makes him look more appealing. We got Kamara moving into the starting lineup for Portland. In their last game, he's only 3,900, 8% owned. Not a very good point per minute guy, but small forward is not a great position. He's cheap. He's going to be out there. Jared Allen at power forward is very appealing. 14% owned. It's nice to not have to give up that center spot. Bobby Portis, clear building block on this slate. And then Anthony Davis rounding it out. Again, we don't know the status of LeBron. We don't know the status of Davis. But even if LeBron's in, Davis is an interesting contrarian play at 2% owned. You're never wrong for playing him. If LeBron is out, obviously Anthony Davis looks a lot better. So that's all I have for you in this video. Thank you for checking it out. Again, use the link below to sign up and use the lineup generator on your own. It will improve your DFS game for as little money and as quickly as basically anything you can get on the market. So definitely check that out using the link below. Other than that, thanks for checking out the video and good luck on your lineups tonight.